Hi guys and welcome to Zontes.com. This is Mohit Soni. What is in front of you has already been on our channel in the short videos, but now we've road tested it for almost 300 kilometers. And what do we think of this bike? This is the Zontes 350R. This is one of the 5 bikes that exist with the same engine and chassis in various forms. I've told you about that in our short video, so you can find that on our channel and on our Instagram as well. Let's focus on the R here, what we have road tested, and we put in highway miles, city miles, and we've seen what it can do and see what the bike is like in person with us spending some time finally, because the first ride review was very limited, so we didn't bring you a full review from there because of the limited time, and the first experience was mostly about getting to know the brand and you know their range of motorcycles and all of that. But now let's specifically concentrate on the R. And as you can see, this is a very handsome looking motorcycle. It's been grabbing a lot of attention on the road thanks to this very transformerish looking like front headlight, and this is how the front mudguard looks like with a proper number plate holder. So that is also done. Usually bikes don't get that easily. It's either this or that, but this is a very good one. Have a look at the alloy wheels. They have the silver finishes on them, and that is the engine in white color, whitish silverish color, sorry. And the whole motorcycle of course is in black, yeah. And that is a very cool looking exhaust. Zontes had to do a lot of engineering work, because look at this, how big is the exhaust, just to make sure that you get these pipes here upstairs. And not a lot of motorcycle manufacturers do it. This is usually done by the Italians, and now the Chinese are also doing it, and they've gotten it right. It looks nice, but I'm sure the weight penalty is very high, and it is because this is the heaviest motorcycle in this class at around 180 kilograms. Huge tires as well. You've got these Chinese made in China Micra S3 tires, CST radial of course, and this is a 160/60. The KTM gets 150/60, this gets 160, and the front is not 110, it's 120. So you can realize why it looks very muscular and angular at the same time, because the muscle comes from these huge wheels, and the angular design is seen in the bikini fairing here with the headlight, with the tank. Fit finish quality also is surprisingly very good on this motorcycle. The plastics don't creak, the panel gaps are well done, and there's a lot of features that I explained in the video. I'm going to do that again. This is of course a completely keyless bike, so let me just show you what the keys look like. Yeah, that's how the keys look like. It's just a very small capsule sort of a key, and once you press the button here, the motorcycle starts with a beep. That is the instrument cluster right there. You can set it in various modes. Let me just show you that by pressing mode button here, and you can see you've got the first motorcycle with TPMS on board. And of course the electric scooters are now getting it, I know, but I think this is the first motorcycle in this category to get that. This has a lot of features. You can just scan a lot of barcode here, and you can project maps. We see videos of course on when you are on standstill, not while moving. And just press the set button here, you go into the interface. Then there is clock, backlit. The switches are also backlit, which I'll show you in the night very soon in this video. And mode button is what it takes to go through this. If you want to get inside something, then you press the set button again over here, and as you can see, it shows whatever has to be shown. Going back, you have to press mode again, and then you will be back in the main menu. And yeah, let's go into interface, and as you can see, it's in race mode right now. And that's how the race mode looks like. That's the clock. You set it like that. Backlit, units, you know, language we know. Bluetooth of course is here, and you can connect your phone via from there. And then go into easy connect, where you can scan this code and run all those videos and maps, which is very useful. I'll do a separate video on that, so stay tuned. I'll put a short video again for that. That will be easier for all of us to understand this very important feature on the Zontes. And yeah, I showed you the TPMS. Let's go into interface again, and yeah, go into street, then press set button again, and we have the street look here. So that's also pretty nice. Obviously the race version definitely looks much more sportier, and whole host of buttons. This is the eco and sport mode. This is the light button, start stop, engine kill switch, lock button. If you keep the handlebar like this and press this lock button here, for long press it, the handle will also lock and the motorcycle will shut down, and when you go away with the keys, nobody can obviously use the buttons to open anything because it just works like a car. And the segment mode buttons are here. This is for the hazard lamp, the high beam, low beam, the pass light, and the horn, of course, indicators. This is one of the best switch gear integration I've seen in a very long time. Chinese motorcycle manufacturers have come a long way, and this clearly shows this is one of the best. It's also red lit just like a Ducati. I'll show you that in the video once we show you that, just before we talk about the riding part. And as always, that's the coolant tank right there, very easy. And since you start the motorcycle, have a look at these LED DRLs. Let me just start the motorcycle for you as well. That's the LED light. It's not positioned right now, so it's a little way too low, and the high beam also doesn't go way too high. It needs a small setting and that will be done. And yeah, pretty strong, very big handle weights here. They keep the vibration of the motorcycle at all. And that's the seat, single piece, very sharp looking. And since the motorcycle is on, let me just give you an exhaust note. I'll explain one of the key reasons why Zontes is a very special motorcycle coming in from China, because the way they've chosen the engine to work, the way they've chosen a particular way how to do the engine, how to do the dynamics is very good. I'll explain all of that while I start riding. I think that's it. I've explained what the motorcycle is like and how it looks, the fit finish, the build quality looks very impressive. So what is the Zontes 350R like to ride? Well, this is a 350cc motorcycle making 38 PS of power and 32 Nm of torque, and this is a 350cc single cylinder engine which is liquid cooled, fuel injected, has 4 valves, and that is a lot of horsepower and torque, and it comes very close to the KTM Duke 390. And as we know, the KTM makes 45 PS of power and 37 Nm of torque. The Zontes also has a weight penalty of at 180 kgs while the KTM weighs around 160. The reason why I am matching it up to the KTM in terms of spec already without doing a comparison is that this is the most promising motorcycle that has come quite literally after the KTM in the single cylinder space. It is a very good motorcycle to ride. The engine is rev friendly, it revs quickly as well, it revs cleanly as well. It is not the smoothest engine, there are vibrations, but then our motorcycle was brand new. We picked it up at 150-200 kilometers, then put in almost 350-400 kilometers on it. After that it started becoming smooth. I'm pretty sure that it's going to get bearable, very much bearable after the first service when the oil change is done, because already the vibrations were dying down as we ended our stint with the motorcycle. When we gave it back, we saw the vibrations have come down by a big margin. So there is a good probability, a 95% probability that the vibrations will die down, because this is one of the only 2 issues that we could find out while riding. The second I will come to in a bit, but what I want to say is that the clutch is also very light, the gearbox is smooth. I'll give it a 8 out of 10 because sometimes clutchless upshifts and even with clutch can be a bit difficult, and there were a lot of times where we found false neutral on this motorcycle as well, which is again seems to be related with the first service, where I'm sure when the oil change is done, the gearbox should become better, because 95% of the time the gearbox was very good. Thirdly, like I said, it can cruise at 120 kilometers an hour with no problem whatsoever, and that's when the vibrations also don't really kick in that much. It's only after that when you're really gunning it, you realize that there are vibrations. At red line is what you're going to feel. Most of the time you're not going to feel the vibrations, and the vibrations are only at the tank and on the foot pegs. At the handlebars they are not present because of the handle weights are so big and heavy that they actually mitigate all the vibrations that are coming in. So Zontes, I think, knows this. They've tried to counter it quite well, because when you don't get vibrations on the handlebar, the journey becomes much better, much better, and the legs where the tank and the foot pegs are is sort of bearable. I'm sure that that also will die down and become much better on these test bikes. And so this is the engine, and this is the gearbox and the refinement part. The mid-range and low-end torque is also quite good. The engine revs freely and cleanly is what I told you. The only problem is vibrations to a certain extent. Top end is good as well. It is slightly short geared, but it's not too short geared, nor is it very it's not even it's not very tall geared like the KTM. So it's somewhere in between, and I think I like this because there's a lot of torque, and it doesn't require gear changes. That makes it riding it in the city very, very easy. Despite the heavy curb weight of 180 kilograms, the weight has been managed really well, because the suspension tuning is very, very impressive. The front forks, 43mm upside down forks, do a brilliant job of excellent feedback, and ride quality is also really good at the front and at the back. It doesn't feel fragile like the Chinese bikes of the past. This does feel very, very confident, very, very the chassis has the confidence to inspire you to ride faster. We did the Mumbai Pune run, and as you know, that route has everything: straight roads, dual roads, expressway, fantastic corners, and it did all of that so well. It almost felt like I'm riding my own KTM, but with tires that don't grip really well. The CST Mirage tires from Zontes, which is apparently very likely to be Chinese manufacturer, it is sticky enough, but it's not really sticky. It is definitely better than the MRF series of tires, but it's still sort of below the Pirelli and Apollo tires, which are much better and will suit the character of this bike even more. With the 160 section at the back and 120 section at the front, I have no problems with the front, but the rear could easily do with 150 section. It can improve the fuel efficiency, the acceleration, as well as the top speed. But this Meteor tire gives it a very good look, which I told you in my design review, and it also feels quite good while cornering as well. I'm sure the way the setup has been done, it's done on intent and not very it's not a very cosmetic approach, because the ride quality is excellent, the handling is very good, it feels very sharp, it doesn't feel top heavy, the rake and trail has been tuned really well. So it is a very, very promising bike to ride. The wheelbase also doesn't feel strong, very long. Turn in is very quick, and it feels stable while cornering. It's very stable on the highway as well. You can maintain 120. The front doesn't feel flighty. There is a lot of feedback. The brakes are also quite good. The levers are adjustable. The front and rear brakes were equally impressive, and it's good for a road going sporty motorcycle. It's not, the brakes are still not super sporty like how we like them, but they are still very good enough. They are almost at par with the segment benchmark, which is the KTM. And what we think is the other sore point with this motorcycle after vibrations, which we are still giving the benefit of doubt to Zontes' specific motorcycle here, is that the ABS kicks in way too early, and the tires just don't grip at all on bad roads. So we were on a section where it almost felt like we were doing off-roading. Other tires feel quite well on those roads as well, but this was very slippery, and we were applying the brakes on the road as well as on that bad road. And both the times we found out that the ABS kicks in too early, and that is something that Zontes can fix as well very easily. This actually requires a bit more fine tuning, because just slapping on ABS and doing some testing doesn't leaves room for improvement, because it needs to be fine tuned to the road conditions and to slightly off-road conditions as well, where ABS actually works and helps you out. So if the ABS kicks in way too early, I don't think that's very confidence inspiring, but that is not a problem as well, something that Zontes can fix, because the most enthusiasts will not really appreciate this, but they will get used to it from time to time and keep this motorcycle on the road itself. That is the only problem that I could find. I told you the handling is good, the ride quality is great, the suspension setup at the front and rear feels good, and the tires are also almost good on the road. The engine refinement could have been better, the low and mid-range stock is great. All of this makes this motorcycle very easy to ride in the city. The handling is great, it feels nimble, it feels agile, it feels stable at the same time, and like I said, this is one of the most promising bikes that has come out in a very long time, and finally challenges the KTM Duke 390 to a very large extent. Even the pricing is very similar to that, but of course it's the performance is still not up to the KTM mark, and in fact the quality also feels very, very good, and it is almost on par with KTM. So the other reason why I am comparing it to the KTM, I would never do that, because I've never got the opportunity before, but now I have, and I think this is one of the most promising motorcycles. Zontes has 5 options to choose from with various body forms, with same engine and the same suspension. So anything that you buy from the 350 range, you're really going to enjoy it, but there will be differences. We'll tell you about that when we test them. So subscribe to our channel, follow us for that content. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to our channel, follow us on our website and social media for every update. There is a lot more action coming in. Thank you so much for watching. Until then, goodbye.